Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Eat, Sleep, Suplex, Retweet.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Saturday Draft Live. Oh my god, that was terrifying.
Just getting the list up.
Oh, Jesus. Yes, this is part 2 of our draft selection week of shows for season 22 of our Fantasy Wrestling League. Tuesday night, we had a great start off to this new season of drafting with 6 of our players taking part in that. And now we're going to have part 2 coming up tonight. But before we get into that, I would like to introduce my co-host who appeared from nowhere there. It's a reunion probably more anticipated than when Deadpool and Wolverine got back together recently at the cinema. If Deadpool was the version from Wolverine Origins with the stupid face thing and the no cool suit, that nobody really cared about. You can say his name and he apparently appears. Do you believe in David Hockney?
Hey, I'm back again. Now, obviously, work experience boy Ryan Douglas has thought, no, he just can't be arsed here. So, yeah, as lo and behold suggests, I've had to step in and do the dirty work for him.
Yes, you would never believe it watching previous episodes of this draft selection show, but Ryan had an allergy to being on the camera, which is why Dave had to fill in. But you will have some, correspondence from Ryan because he is one of the 6 drafters competing in the second half of ESSR Fantasy League Season 22 Double Dash Draft. So if you didn't manage to catch the stream on Tuesday, I will give a quick recap of how this season is going to go. So essentially, it's a season of 2 halves. The first half is going to be a tag team style season that we kind of usually get between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. But the way it's going to work is we had 6 of our team obviously drafting on Tuesday. They picked their teams as with a normal style draft. Their tag team partners, which were randomly selected, are also going to draft tonight. But instead of what we usually do with the tag teams where they work together to make sure they have the same team, it's going to be 2 independent drafts. So tonight's draft is essentially going to be a draft like from scratch. So all 6 competitors will have a blank slate to play for. We don't have to work with the guys from Rampage or the likes of Indy Hartwell. No, we have the full Boona to go. The way the season will work is essentially the team's score will be essentially a combination of each team's members' score. And then it's going to run right up until the middle of towards the end of September, so about 7 weeks. And at that point, whoever team is top of the league will then get to draft first and second on the second half, where we're going to draft again later in the season. So essentially, and whoever's going to draft first out of the team will be determined by which of the 2 teams members' score is highest. So you're working together, but you still technically want to beat the other person because it means you get that 1 place higher in the draft. Before we get on to this, Dave, we do have a wee comment coming in from Ryan saying that his body is not here. Body is not, but I'm hearing spirit. Good on you, Ryan. Good to hear. Good to hear.
Just please don't haunt the stream here because we've in the past we've had a Fiend selection that's haunted a previous season selection, and let's not let that curse happen again.
Yes, absolutely. If you are watching the stream, please feel free to give us a comment on YouTube and we'll read it out on the show, because it's not just for us. We also have people watching who could participate in the Listeners League, which we'll give details about at the end of the show. But please watch, because whoever's in the Listeners League, these picks will be able to give you an idea of who you'll have to select when you do the Listeners League. Enough of the rules in the chat, Dave. Let's get into it. Now, quickly before we just quickly one last thing. The order that we had on Tuesday, we had Gary Morris, then it was yourself, Dave. Grant McRobbie went third, and it was Tom Brock, the GOAT, David Campbell, and Scott McLeod. The order of which we're going to go tonight is essentially going to be their tag team partners. Drafting first tonight, he got the privilege of drafting first on his selected day because he won both the Listeners League and the Listeners League Cup last season. It's Dan Axel Jameson. Now, Dave, who's he going to be picking for his team with Gary Morris? Gary had Cody in his first round pick on Tuesday. Who are we going to get from Dan?
Well, Dan Axel Jameson finally finished his Listeners League story, but now he's going to start a brand new story with the very same pick as his tag team. He chooses the undisputed WWE champion, as my shirt suggests. It is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes.
I don't know. I'm not too sure about that one. I don't think you should be picking people as your partner. It limits your opportunities to go ahead of that particular person. So, yeah, it means that they've got pretty much a guaranteed same score, unless, of course, Dan picks a different captain, which we'll find out towards the end of the show. But Dave, we now move on to your tag team partner, somebody who was able to get into the draft this season because we had an odd number of players, and we needed an even number for the tag season. So as the second place finisher in the Listeners League last year, Robert Shaw returns. You picked Gunfer on Tuesday, Dave. What's Robert Shaw going to do?
Just waiting for him to send the message through. But yeah, I've chosen Robert fucking Shaw as my tag team partner, and he is coming out swinging. Representing the former Judgment Day, it is El Campeon, Damian Priest.
Yes, we should also quickly add, Dave mentioned in it, that the people on Tuesday, other than Gary was selected randomly with the wheel because Dan was drafting first, but the rest of the guys all got to pick their tag partners, other than, of course, Scott, who was left with the dregs. So he has Damian Priest. Quickly, a message from Matt Smith saying they'll never top the Fiend. Maybe that's the reason why we don't have Jack Graham on the panel this season.
And that's why Matt's picking last this time around. The Fiend curse has caught up with him.
And we go on now to Ryan Dalglish. Ryan's got an interesting draft this time because he is teaming with Grant, and Grant has had the randomness of the dice, which landed him the prestigious one, Joe Hendry, on Tuesday. Ryan's going a bit more safe with his pick. I think it's fair to say he is going with the U World Heavyweight Champion, Gunther.
Of course he is.
I think it's a logical pick, you know.
Yeah, very logical. Well, I have him on. Yeah, I have him on my team as my team captain. So I think it's safe to say, he's got a scheduled match against Randy Orton against Bash in Berlin. Easy, successful title defense, I imagine, will be the case for that. Point straight on the board, and I'm curious to see how he carries the company as its new face.
It will be interesting, and we now move on to myself drafting for fourth. Tom went with the U Intercontinental Champion Braun Breaker as his round one pick. I'm going to go with a champion, but I'm going to go with female champion, get the first female off the board. She is now the US member of Judgment Day 3.0. It's Dominic's better half. Liv Morgan is on my team.
Well, it's certainly not his wife, if that's what you're referring to. She's been left in the debts, leaving Mammy for his side chick, all as well as his actual missus is, sitting at home crying, probably.
Interesting. I've got a message from Ryan Dalglish privately. It begins with the letter P to describe my round one pick. We now go on to Gary Kernahan, who's drafting first. He's teaming with the GOAT, David Campbell, a dream tag team for both men. GOAT went with Damian Priest, and I think it's only fitting that Gary has went with the other half of the Terror Twins. He's went with Rhea Ripley.
Rhea bloody Ripley.
I love the pick. It's a logical pick, I think. She's still going to be featured very highly on Raw over the next few weeks in this feud with the Judgment Day, Liv Morgan. So I think it's a great pick up in round one. Probably
the most over female on the entire roster at the minute, despite not being the champion. And now that she's internally listed as a face, I think, the crowd's going to get even more and more behind her. She's going to get a ton of momentum going forward. This is going to be really good for her, for Team GOAT.
Yes, very much so. Rhea Ripley was picked on Tuesday in the first round by Scott, obviously the defending champion, a 5-time draft champion. And what I think it's fair to say, Dave, is two contrasting strategies in the last team we've got. Scott, obviously, a man who loves to win and be strategic in his draft, and we have the king of the vibes, Matt Smith, who is apparently 6 beers deep after being in the sun all day in his villa on holiday.
Well,
so who's he picking for round one?
Well, this is quite an interesting one. When I first saw this pick going in round one, I thought maybe he's onto something here. And I think the mindset is carried forward to Matt's selection. He is choosing potentially the next AEW Women's World Champion, Mariah May.
Oh, round one for Mariah May. That is interesting. Picked on Tuesday by Tom Brock. Obviously, in that big feud coming up to Wembley with Tony Storm. It'll be interesting how that one goes. Now, obviously, with the snake draft, Matt has a second pick straight off the back, Dave. So has he got that with you, or has he forgot about it with all that San Miguel?
Oh,
I don't know. I actually don't know what villa he's. I don't know what villa he's in. I'm assuming he's in Spain for some strange reason.
Yeah, I just hope Matt's watching this and he realizes that he needs another pick now, knowing that we operate on the snake draft. So the order we select in round one essentially is reversed.
He has drafted a few times now. He doesn't really have the excuse of being new here anymore.
It's honestly, I think it's mad. Like, you draft for so many seasons, you almost forget that, when you select last, you got to be ready. And okay. And he's sticking with AEW this time around. He is someone who, friend of the show, John Isherwood, has recently interviewed in Wembley. Somebody, bit of a gamble, might say, but Matt's going to go with Bryan Danielson.
Bryan Danielson going a lot higher on tonight than he did on Tuesday. He went in round 5 for Tom on Tuesday. I think Matt's villa is apparently in the south of France, he says.
Yep, south of France. Round 1 for Danielson when he was round 5 on night 1. Bit bold.
I mean, he's in the title match at Wembley. He's in the main event, which makes you think, yes, it's a good pick. At the same time, the stipulation of that match is if he loses, that's him. He's done. So I know it's a short season and you kind of maybe get away with it, but it's a bit of a risk to take going in at that point. Let's see how that goes. Now going in, we've got Gary's next pick already. Gary has got his second female on the board very early on. He has went with Miss Money in the Bank. Let's hear it, everybody. It's Tiffy time. Yeah,
Tiffany Stratton.
Picked by Scott in round 4 on Tuesday. Really shocked that Tiffy went that low on Tuesday. But you're Gary getting her off the board very early on. It's a good pick for Gary. I think Tiffany Stratton was somebody I was hoping big for my team last season. Didn't quite do much up until Money in the Bank, but now with that briefcase and it's held by a tag team partner, Nia Jax, a lot of potential in there.
I'm surprising, that we're getting a lot of undercard talent getting selected in round 1. There's a lot of champions still not been selected. So I just hope maybe things will start to pick up.
That Money in the Bank briefcase holds a lot. Message quickly here from our champion, Scott McLeod. He's top Matt all he can in the short window. So let's see how that one goes. Now, we're going to go on to my pick. And I'm going to go with someone who, looking at the table from Tuesday, was not picked at all. Really shocked about it.
All right.
He may have got a defeat at the weekend, but I still think he's a prominent part of the show that he's on. And I don't think he's going to get a big prominent loss at this point in the season. I'm going to go with the leader of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa.
Interesting. I mean, he was left undrafted on night 1. In fact, quite a lot of the Bloodline was left off the board in round 1. So
I just think the match with Roman's not going to happen for a while. He's going to get kept strong up until that point. I don't think he's going to lose anyone. The Bloodline's all over the show. I think it's a safe pick to nicely have in round 2. I think I feel quite good about that one. Do I have my next pick from Ryan? We do. You were talking there about champions, David. Well, Ryan has went for a champion. Somebody we touched upon as a round 1 pick on Tuesday. Is a round 2 pick today. The new Intercontinental Champion, Braun Breaker.
There we go. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this is that both of the round 3 selections chosen Braun Breaker? Is that Ryan and Grant both? Nope, tell you wrong. No, Ryan has Braun Breaker.
Tom picked the only
in round 4.
The only person who's been selected on the same team so far was Cody Rhodes in round 1 from Dan. So that is Interesting one there. Dave, your tag team partner, Robert Shaw, now has his chance for his second round pick. I'll be interested to see what Robert goes for here.
Yeah, just waiting for him to message his next pick. So I think we could probably do a bit of insight in here while we wait.
I mean, we've got I think we have 5 of the 6 from Tuesday who are in round 1 are off the board now.
Oh, here we go.
Breaker.
We have it.
Oh, there you go.
And the bloodline is starting to fall off the board here. Bit of a injury scare at the weekend for this guy, but Robert has faith in the West End Bastards as a tag team. He is going with the werewolf known as Jacob Fatu.
Dave, I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on this one. Obviously, as Robert's tag team partner for this first half of the season, do you think it's? I get why he would want to pick Fatu based on what's happening with him since he came onto the roster, but at the same time, we've not had SmackDown yet, and he's got that. We're not sure if that injury's a work or not currently at the moment. So you think it's a bold move, especially in round 2?
It is a risky play, given the outcome, but fingers crossed that Jacob can still go in the ring, and that means we have both half of the SmackDown Tag Team Champions as part of our tag team. So any tag title points, it's only going to be good for our tag team. I can see what he's done there, and to be fair, a little bit of element of risk there, but I think it's a smart decision.
Yeah, it could go either way, but we will find out very quickly, obviously, because I think they will tell us what's going to happen on SmackDown either way, shape, or form. We now go on to Dan Axel Jameson. Now, I really hope he doesn't pick Tony Storm and the Young Bucks, so this team with him and Gary could get really awkward. So let's see what he's got on the board ready for this one, Dave.
Yeah, and I really hope he hasn't fallen into the Matt Smith's trap of forgetting. Oh, here we go. And Dan has chosen someone who I chose from his position previously in part 1. He is going with the new WWE Women's Champion, Nia Jax.
Good pick. Nia has been on a roll since returning to WWE. Obviously, that big win at SummerSlam now over Bayley. She's going to dominate the roster, I think, for the next wee while.
Fingers crossed.
And then I think the eventual play is going to be her and Tiffany eventually at one point when Tiffany cashes in. But that's not going to happen, I think, over the next 7 weeks. So I think, it's a really strong play to go for. I'm curious who he's going to go for in round 3, though, Dave.
And just to put very bluntly, Dan's round 3 pick is Mammy's little bitch, known as Dirty Dominic Mysterio.
That utter bastard. Not Dan, Dominic. I mean, fair play. I know he's a married man, but could you imagine going into your work and go, you're going to have to swap tongues with Liv Morgan tonight? It's not too bad a job.
Not too bad at all. Make out with your side chick whilst your mammy's looking to punish you. That's like any young man's perfect heaven.
Dominic Mysterio, who was picked on round 3 as well on Tuesday by the GOAT David Campbell. David will gloat that all 3 of his round 1 to 3 picks are already off the board, 13 picks in, so there's a bit for him to gloat about. Robert Shaw, Dave, what's he got in mind? What's he got planned?
I think the wheels are turning in his head at the minute, but here's hoping he can deliver something good for my tag team. And he is choosing the other half of the AEW women's title picture. Robert is going with Timeless Toni Storm.
I think that match is an interesting one. I think it's one that could go either way. I don't know if it's completely set in stone. So, good one for Toni Storm. And the thing with Toni is she has been wrestling on multiple AEW shows over the last few months as well. So, potential nice points there for Robert, but that's a good one. Toni Storm picked in round 2 by Gary Morris on Tuesday, and now picked in round 3 by Robert Shaw. Although it was only a couple of picks later. We have. I hate that wee bastard.
Is Ryan giving a bit more life back to the Dice Duo?
He is. He's taking a book out of the David Hockney playbook, clearly, with his pick. Somebody you had in round 5 on Tuesday, and someone I had marked out for my team, the NXT Women's Champion. She's off the board. Roxanne Perez is on Ryan Douglas's team.
a very underrated performer last season. She's been defending the title left, right, and center. We're still waiting for Julia to show up in NXT. So I guess we'll just ride the Roxanne train as long as we can. But I mean, it just goes to show, get her off the board round 3 when I was able to get her in round 5 on Tuesday. I think it just goes to show how big of a missed opportunity she was.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, I think it was time that we get a tag team on the board for this particular one. And this is a tag team who weren't picked up on Tuesday because one was picked up as a singles person and one was drafted in another tag team. I am going with the Raw Tag Team Champions, Finn Balor, JD McDonough, the Judgment Day are on my team.
Ooh, very, very interesting. The Raw Tag Team Champions have been drafted as a duo.
I mean, I think it was a good play from the go on Tuesday to get JD and Carlito as a team after Finn went on Grant's team. And absolutely sound.
Good luck with trying to score that. You've got one half of the bracket choosing JD and Carlito, and now you've chosen JD and Balor.
Now, this is a legal move.
Right.
Because it's 2 active competitors.
Oh,
but my
don't tell me
God,
he's picked commentators or...
No, he's picked 2 wrestlers. Gary's picked 2 wrestlers for his round 3 pick. It's allowed, but it's bold. Gary has picked the tag team of CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Oh, that is...
It's a legal move. It's allowed.
That is pretty damn clever, actually. Those two are going to be each other's throats for weeks, so that's guaranteed appearance points. But it's 2 big solo names straight off the board. And 2 rivals as well. Yeah, I think Ryan summed it best. That is bloody genius.
It's a bold move because the program can end like that. That's why I don't think it's a move that people would do very often. But as Alan says, it's legal, but it's naughty.
Legal and naughty. I mean, I think Gary was the one who actually essentially invented the crazy tag team picks, originally with Bobby Lashley and MVP, and now he's pulled this out the bag. The guy's a genius, and why he's not won any more drafts is beyond me.
It could go either way, because CM Punk might not be on TV for a while. Drew might not be on TV. It's risky. But if it works, it could work. I think it's going to be one that's going to go either way. Speaking of risky picks, we go on to Matt Smith now, Dave. What's he got for round 3 and round 4?
Well, round 3, he's going with his tag team pick of the former women's tag team champions. It is Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair.
That is a tag team. They are definitely a tag team. But how long will they stay a tag team? That was something that was debated heavily.
Yeah,
the other night.
Both Bianca and Jade were drafted as solo people on Tuesday, but this time around they're drafted as a tag team.
Yeah, I mean, Grant McRobbie got Jade. David the Goat Campbell got Bianca. It's very interesting how that's going currently. Does he have his round 4 pick, Dave?
He does. And let me talk to you, because Matt's 4th round pick is L.A. Knight. Yeah.
Expecting a lot more vibes from Matt. This is This is some actual sound, solid drafting from him at the moment. L.A. Knight went round 3 on Tuesday with yourself, Dave.
Yep.
Your team is... from Tuesday's been quite well picked off so far, bar one obvious one.
Yeah, for very obvious reasons.
So that's an absolute interesting one. So we'll see how that goes. We're now going to go back to Gary, who has not picked a single male yet, but he has now.
Hey, there we go. He's finally chosen a man.
He's went to NXT and he's picked the top dog in NXT. He's picked the NXT champion, Ethan Page.
Ooh, making his ESSR draft debut, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever picked up during his AEW run. So that's
I don't believe he was, no.
So that's a very interesting pick, a very good pick. Yeah, I rate that one quite highly.
He has eaten a few losses though on TV, but then I think that was more at the expense of some other potential picks for this draft. But you know what? Ethan Page is it's a fresh start. Perhaps he might just surprise us all as one of those newcomer selections.
Yeah, Dave, I'm worried about the amount of female wrestlers that have been taken off the board so far. So I'm going to get my second one done and dusted at the moment.
Yep,
We've
go
had the
for it.
NXT Women's Champion. We had the NXT Women's North American Champion, or whatever the heck they call the belt. Kalani Jordan is going on to my team.
Yep, she was the very last pick of night one, and now she's been picked up in round 4. So probably a wise decision, given that I think we're getting a lot of female picks straight off the board because they're far and few between compared to the number of male picks that you could get. So we'll get some good ones on the board, and I think you've got both champions. I think that's a solid play.
Dave, I've got a question for you. In any business that you know, what's the top person in the business known as? What's their job role?
The CEO.
Yes, Ryan has got Mercedes Moné on his team. The TBS champion is on Ryan's team. She was picked up in the last round by Tom Brock on Tuesday. She has a match coming up at Wembley against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. I think she's quite a favourite for that match, particularly given what's been going on with Britt Baker backstage at AEW right now. So, yeah.
Just a bit, yeah. And, you know, Mercedes Moné was in the crowd last time for Wembley, and this time around she's going to be performing. So that should be a bit of a breath of fresh air for those in attendance.
Yeah, with that guy, it looked like Rob Lowe, but was it Rob Lowe?
Mercedes
Moné just randomly getting shown at Wembley, and all I thought about was, is that Rob Lowe? Is that him from Parks and Rec?
Oh, right. And Robert is back in it. You know, he's getting some women on the board finally, and all I can say is I want to know that she can be our girl. It is Bayley.
Bayley went undrafted on Tuesday, which was a shock to me as well.
Well, let's get her on the board anyway. You know, she might just surprise us.
She lost her women's title at SummerSlam, of course, to Nia Jax, but still probably one of the top stars on SmackDown at the moment. A nice solid pick, especially in round 4. I think it's a nice way to go with it. We now go back to Dan, Axel, Jameson, Dave. He's got 2 males and a female currently on his team. I wonder what he's going to do in rounds 4 and 5 here.
Yeah, so as it stands, how's the distribution looking? Do we have like a good pick of male and females, or have some teams limited their choice a little bit?
It's looking quite solid. I think it's a quite fair balance currently across the board on all the teams.
All right, good to hear. Well, Dan Axel Jameson is so elevated because he's picking Will Ospreay.
Nice one, a good pick there. Scott McLeod took him in round 2 very early on Tuesday. He was the 7th pick of the draft overall on Tuesday. He has a big match at Wembley with MJF, which another one which could go either way. The hometown crowd may swerve things for Ospreay, but yeah, good pick. Very, very well thought of currently in AEW.
And Dan has decided to do what he did in round 1, is pick the tag team that matches his tag team partner. So for his tag team, he's picking the Young Bucks. But you can't deny, the Young Bucks are very reliable tag team in past seasons, and they're all over the AEW product at the minute. So I really don't blame him if he wanted a good tag team, but it's still copying, Gary's team under the double draft stipulation. So don't know if that was wise this time around.
No one else in this 6 tonight has picked a single person from their tag team partner's team other than Dan, who's picked 2 from Gary's. Will that really hurt them in the head-to-head? We'll find out as the season goes on. But Dave, Robert Shaw has his round 5 pick. He has got 2 males and 2 females on the board currently, so he has a nice, good spread coming into it, but he also needs a tag team at some point. So what's he going with here?
I'm making it clear that, we need to get a tag team on the board unless he's saving it for round 6. So, yes! Now that's what I'm talking about, Robert. Sorry, I'm supposed to be impartial on hosting duty here, but I think he's finally rectified the mistake I've made. So instead of going for MSK, he has gone the opposite way from this past Tuesday, and he is rectifying it massively with Axiom and Nathan Fraser.
One of the best picks of last season, in my opinion, on the full season. A big part in Scott's title winning season. I'm going to quickly address this comment from Dan, Axel Jameson. Dan, they're good picks, but I would not pick two people from your tag team partners team. That is the only thing I'm going to say. I think they are perfectly good picks if you to get you and Gary high up the table. I think they're great, but if you want to kind of beat Gary to get that first overall pick, then maybe I've went a bit different, but I could be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong many times doing this draft.
Well, it's a new concept, so yeah, I mean, it could go either way. But if it was Dan drafting himself, great choice. Wouldn't have argued. But in this situation, you never know.
We now go to Ryan, who has been dusting off his old New Japan tapes at the back of his cupboard, as he is picking the other members of the bloodline who have not been picked. We mentioned them earlier on. Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, the Gorillas of Destiny are off the board.
There we go. Gorillas of Destiny picked as a tag team last season, and they're going as a tag team this time around in round 2. But although I picked Tama Tonga on his own from Tuesday, Tangaloa was undrafted from night 1, as was Jacob Fatu. So a lot more bloodline representation in this time around.
I am going to take a punt in round 5. I'll say it's a punt. It's more of a tsunami. I'm going to take big impact on Raw last season. That on Monday just there. Not quite the big season for me last season, but I'm betting big Bronson Reed.
Ooh, very interesting.
Massive showing on Monday. Pretty much wrecking Seth Rollins during that fantastic segment on Raw. So, I think it could go either way. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that goes for him. He's had a very mixed booking in his return to WWE in the last 18 or so months.
Yeah. Monday Night Raw just changed everything. You know, he's made himself look like a killer, and he's certainly one to be reckoned with. So I think a round 5 selection for this team, probably very wise decision.
Gary has got his next pick in. He is going for another one who didn't make it to the Tuesday draft, but he's had a great few seasons. Despite losing his title on Saturday night, he's going with the former IC champ, Sami Zayn.
Ooh. Now that's interesting because I think there have been rumors going around that maybe Sami Zayn could be going in an opposite title direction, but I don't know how much proof there is in that pudding. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what they do with Sami Zayn going forward. If the rumor plan is a Bloodlines War Games match, I could certainly see him show up and maybe getting more involved in the feud. But I think for the first couple of weeks, he could potentially be another slow burner.
Yeah, definitely. Gary has a good whack of choice. He can pick either a male or a female when it comes to his final round. But we go on to Matt, who can essentially pick. He needs to definitely pick a female, Dave, in this coming rounds. But he can pick 2 females. He can pick a male and a female. What's he got in mind?
He is going with a member of the Elite, and he is going with Kazuchika Okada.
Interesting.
And I think I've spelt it correctly as well.
Yeah, I think you have. Well done.
Yay!
Okada picked up in round 3 by Tom on Tuesday. He has a title match slotted in with Claudio Castagnoli. We don't know yet where that match is going to take place. I would be banking on it taking place at Wembley, because why would you have a guy like Okada not put him on a stadium show? But if it doesn't happen at Wembley, it will happen 2 weeks later at All Out, which is also part of this season. So good chance you'll get some good points there. That match will be an absolute big slobber knocker, I think. So his last pick needs to be a female, Dave. And
he's done that. And he's gone with, again, another bold play, but it's something you did similarly to a couple of seasons ago. This person was signed, but they've yet to show up. Matt is going to play the long game with this one, and he's picking Julia.
He picked her last season. She got 0 points for him. He's taking the risk again.
He's also
Scott's tearing his hair out.
He's also said in brackets, Julia, and this time it works.
I think he's got a good chance of it working now. I do. I mean, we've got the big NXT TV debut on the CW network coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think WWE are already stacking that show with big main roster names. I think for that female division, there's a couple of big names who WWE have signed to be mentioned. Julia's one of them, and she's finishing up with Marigold in a few weeks as well. So that's an interesting choice. We now go back to Gary Kernahan, who, as I mentioned a few moments ago, can pick either a female or a male, depending on what he wants. Say his name and he appeals. I believe in Joe Hendry.
I believe in Joe Hendry.
He's on Gary's draft team.
Plenty.
Could not get that to work. Not happy. Not happy. Oh, yeah. Joe Hendry was picked in round 1 on Tuesday, and he's picked in round 6 tonight.
Just goes to show how mad the dice strategy is for Grant McRobbie at this point. But Gary picking Joe Hendry round 6, I think, is probably the most expected play that time around.
Yeah, it's an interesting one now. I have free reign on the board.
Mm-hmm. So how's your distribution looking?
I've got 2 females and 2 males, so I can pick anybody.
And you've got a tag team as well, so you can choose anyone.
I've got my tag team. I'm stacking it on one show. Well, I might not be in one show. I'm surprised nobody's picked them up. I'm really surprised.
Mm-hmm.
One word for you, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Yeet.
Yeet.
Jey Uso was my round 6.
Not picked in round night 1, but he's been a bit quiet the last couple of months or so. Not had much success on PLEs, but if they are going with the direction I think they're going, I think this could be pretty smart.
I have a similar pick in mind. Oh no!
Oh, you've messed up, haven't you?
Oh, I forgot about this guy. And something Ryan's been really smart for once. Oh, it's a great pickup from Ryan.
All right, let's hear it.
He's going with the bruiserweight. Pete Dunne.
Oh.
He's on 2 shows. He's on Raw and NXT now. He's in 2 feuds at the moment. That is a fantastic pickup for Ryan in the final round.
That's pretty true, actually. You know, we recently got a win over Trick Williams this past week, and he seems to be having a bit of a feud with Sheamus as well, who's also simultaneously having a feud with Ludwig Kaiser. So it's
we give that man some slack, but
yeah, let's just see how that goes. I'm curious to see what happens because I think Pete Dunne was actually picked round 3 last time. Round 6, though, I think definitely seems more appropriate.
Pete Dunne was picked in round 3 last season because Martin meant to pick him and Tyler Bate, but instead only picked Pete Dunne.
Yeah. Numpty.
Robert Shaw, Dave, can pick a female or a female to end his team. What's he going to go with?
Yep, just letting him know. Need one more pick. I hope he's watching carefully live, so he's been paying attention.
Robert has the choice. This is the final. It could be the final male pick of the draft because Dan has to pick female.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to his last round one, so
maybe he could pick a female and make Dan's job a lot more difficult. But Robert, you have delivered big time here. It's he's really making up for any mistakes I've made on night 1, and he is going with the AEW Women World Champion, I should say, Swerve Strickland.
Interesting swerve. Picked in round 4 by Gary Morris. I think it's a good move in the final round of the draft to get him off the board.
Round 6 as well.
It's a nice safe pick for him. I think it's a not too bad shot.
Looking at our tag team, just if I'm being selfish for a moment, we have 2 completely different teams on our end. So I think we've covered a lot of ground and made up for any mistakes from night 1. I'm very pleased with what we've done.
Everybody has 2 completely different teams other than Gary and Dan, which is interesting. But again, as I mentioned, they 2 could storm ahead. It could be a strategy that works for them.
Oh my God.
Let's see how it goes. It's going to be Dan with his final pick and the final pick of the 2-night draft. Dave,
you're not going to believe.
Also, could we get I know we've got two halves of teams, but if he could give his own individual team name, and then we'll figure out a joint team name between the two of them in the next week or so.
Yeah, he sent me his
captain as well.
Yeah, he sent me his tag team name, but I'll get the captaincy from him. But I'm not even going to announce this one. I'm just going to show it on the banner, and I just want to see your genuine reaction to this. Dan Axel Jameson's final pick is, Nick Wayne's mom.
She's an active talent as well. She's a manager. It's Dan, is her name Shayna?
I have no idea. It's like the equivalent of, saying Jim's dad from American Pie. Like,
am I gonna put...
nobody calls him by his first name. He's just known as Jim's dad.
I am going to pick Mrs. Wayne.
Mrs. Wayne, right? Do whatever you please.
I'm going to put Mrs. Wayne. Smart pick, I think. She's always on those segments with Christian and Co. It's a night for our final pick for round 6. I've given him a bit of grief for his picks earlier on, but
oh yes. And as
I've
for
give him a bit of grief for his picks earlier on, but yes, a smart pick in the final round.
Yes. Anyway, Dan's team name, he is going with LL Knight.
LL Knight. A bit of
LL
a
Knight.
Listeners League name theme in that.
Yep.
Who's his captain?
His team captain is, of course, Cody Rhodes.
Interesting how that was.
Stifler's mom vibes. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I will also tell the competitors that you've got captain change option in each half of the draft. So if you change your captain in the first half, it just gets wiped again for the second half. So you don't worry about trying to be tactical and keep it for later in the season. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
Dave,
anyway,
Robert Shaw.
Yes.
I'll quickly recap Dan's team. He had Cody Rhodes, Nia Jax, Dominic Mysterio, Will Ospreay, the Young Bucks, and Mrs. Wayne. Robert Shaw, Damian Priest, Jacob Fatu, Tony Storm, Bailey, Axiom, and Nathan Fraser, and Swerve Strickland. Captain and team name, please.
That's a beautiful team right there. And Robert is bringing back the draft bastards and his team captain, Damian Priest.
Damian Priest.
Damian Priest. Anyway, that's plenty.
Yep, absolutely. Ryan Dalglish, Gunfer, Braun Breaker, Roxanne Perez, Mercedes Monet, the Gorillas of Destiny, and Pete Dunne. His team name is Dyson Slice Disconnection. Dyson Slice Disconnection.
Okay.
He's in the team. He's with Grant. And his captain is going to be Gunter.
Nice.
Right. So then we go on to...
Same choice as me for captain.
Yeah, Gunter captain on 2 teams, Damian Priest captain on 2 teams, Cody Rhodes captain on 2 teams. I'm going to break that streak in this next with my team. Liv Morgan, Solo Sikoa, JD, and Finn Balor. Kalani Jordan, Bronson Reed, and Jey Uso. Captain will be Liv Morgan, and the team name will be the Bounce Hill Bloodline.
Of course it will. So we've got the Rock and Roll Bloodline then, if we're going for like joint tag team names.
Yes, absolutely. Gary's team now: Rhea Ripley, Tiffany Stratton, Drew McIntyre, and CM Punk, which could either be the best or worst pick in draft history. We'll find out. Ethan Page, Sami Zayn, and Joe Hendry. Captain will be Rhea Ripley, and the usual name for Gary, Team Viscera.
King Mabel's Goats is, I think, their duo name, as Campbell said in the group chat.
We'll find out. We'll find out for sure. Final team of the draft is Matt Smith. He's got Mariah May, Brian Danielson, Jade Cardo and Bianca Belair, LA Knight, Kazuchika Okada, and Julia. Captain and team name, please.
His team captain is Brian Danielson.
Nice.
And his team name, Anywhere But Box Park.
He's very determined that we're not going to Box Park.
Yeah. For those who don't get that, some of the drafters are going to Wembley for AW All In, and basically, I think Matt's on a bit of a campaign to avoid Box Park at all costs.
Matt does live in the London area. I don't know exactly where he lives. It's just outside of London, and pretty much when we talked about the long queues at Box Park last year to get in, he was like, "We're not going to Box Park. We're going anywhere but Box Park." So, if you want to see us during AEW afternoon at Wembley, we will not be at Box Park. I think it's fair to say.
I won't be there at all.
Yes, you're going on a cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get. Right, so with that brings to an end night 2, and of course the full selection process of season 22 of the draft. Now, if you've been watching any of the 2 shows and you would like to take part in this kind of drafting experience, where we do have a listeners league where you get the chance, if you win that, to take part in our season for 1 season, and if you win the season that you're in, you get the chance to be a part of the league permanently. That's what we saw with Gary Morris. That's what we saw with Tom Brock. That's why they've been able to compete with us. So the details, you'll be able to find that on our Twitter page tomorrow on Friday for this recording, so you can get that. I'll give all the details for that one. But essentially, you've got the pots to play with. So anybody who is picked in round 1 on Tuesday and Thursday will be available for your round 1 selection for the Listeners League. Of course, if somebody was picked in 2 pots, they will be in 2 pots. So someone could have Joe Hendry as a pot 1 pick and a pot 6 pick, which is
that's certainly going to throw things up a bit.
Obviously, they can't pick them in 1 and 2 and 6.
Oh yeah, obviously not. Yeah,
you can only be picked 1, but that is interesting. So obviously, if you take part in the Listeners League, we'll get that to you. But if you want to take part in the Listeners League, please get in touch with us at Suplex Retweet on social media, and we'll get you involved for the coming season. With that, Dave, thank you for joining me at late notice to fill in for Mr. Dalglish, and thank you for taking part with Scott on Tuesday. It's going to be an interesting season. It's a different concept, one we've not done before, but it brings about some interesting potential things going on there. And yeah, I will be interested to see how the tag teams do. I'm interested to see how everybody does individually. I will put together a table of the individual scores so people can get an idea. So we might have a scenario where one team has the best player and the worst player, and we can get people at each other's throats. That's going to be good.
Oh, I think worst player in our team, and me and Robert's team's already decided. So yeah.
Alan, but that would have been a not bad suggestion. But the season, but All In is very early in the season. All In is very early in the season. All In is very early in the season, so it'll only be 2 weeks. It wouldn't be very fair.
No, I'll tell you what. If he's in last place by the time All In comes around, you have to go to Box Park.
I don't know if I want to go to Box Park. It's no offense to Box Park.
Nah,
anyway,
it's a wake up call for Matt to make sure his team does well and he takes this seriously. Bit of faith, yeah.
Anyway,
I'll keep
if you enjoyed the show, find us social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Suplex Retweet. Get on and follow and subscribe to us on your podcast network of choice. Eat, Sleep, Suplex Retweet. We have a long back catalogue. We do a lot of shows coming up. Saturday Draft Live every Saturday, where we analyse the draft. Thank you again, Dave. We will see you next time. Have a good one.